Lo que está ocurriendo con el cometa 3IATLAS ya lo predijo el ingeniero alemán Wernher von Braun. El ingeniero mecánico y aeroespacial es considerado uno de los más grandes diseñadores de cohetes durante la Segunda Guerra Mundial. Fue el encargado de desarrollar misiles balísticos para el régimen. Sin embargo, buscando alejarse de ese pasado del cual se arrepentía, se nacionalizó estadounidense, formó parte de la NASA, falleciendo en 1977 en suelo norteamericano. El excéntrico científico aseguraba saber todo lo que le esperaba a la humanidad en un futuro próximo. Explicó que nos espera un control mundial a través del proyecto Blue Beam. El pretexto utilizado será una guerra interplanetaria contra los alienígenas. La guerra empezará cuando se permita la implementación de armas en el espacio. Dirán que desean convertirnos en esclavos de una civilización alienígena, que la humanidad está condenada a la destrucción. Carol Rosin destapó este plan que le explicó Wernher von Braun. Trabajó en la NASA como asesora y secretaria personal de Dr. Wernher von Braun, que inventó las bombas volantes V1 y V2 y posterior director del programa Apolo del viaje a la Luna en 1969. Carol Rosin, presidenta del Instituto para la Seguridad y Cooperación en el Espacio Exterior y ex asesora del científico de origen alemán, ha tenido oportunidad en varias ocasiones de dar su valioso testimonio personal acerca de lo que le decía de manera confidencial el doctor Wernher von Braun sobre unas falsas amenazas que ya estaban planeadas de antemano por los controladores. Evidentemente, las profecías de von Braun no eran tales en sentido visionario, sino que en su condición de científico de alto rango y director de programas de la NASA tenía acceso a la información más secreta y confidencial del gobierno y de otras agencias gubernamentales. Según el Dr. von Braun, había una agenda de 4 supuestas amenazas. Primero, habría una amenaza rusa a la Guerra Fría. Segundo, el terrorismo. Se hablaría mucho del terrorismo, como así ha sido. Locos tercermundistas, naciones marginales, preocupantes y problemáticas que implicarían la posible utilización de armas biológicas y de destrucción masiva. En tercer lugar, Braun citaba una amenaza de asteroides, meteoritos, y finalmente sigue explicando la doctora Rosin, y según Braun se inventarían una falsa amenaza alienígena. Desde luego, según el testimonio de Carol Rosin, las 4 amenazas que se iban a presentar a la población mundial en los sucesivos años eran todas ellas falsas, pero una de las misiones de estas amenazas era justificar la puesta en marcha del programa militar de la Guerra de las Galaxias, conocido como Star Wars, un sistema de defensa militar planetario que incluía satélites, armas láser, supuestamente capaz de neutralizar cualquier ataque de misiles intercontinentales. Y dicho programa efectivamente fue presentado en marzo de 1983 por Ronald Reagan. Por ello, el Dr. von Braun animó siempre a Carol Rosin para que trabajara para la desmilitarización del espacio, porque sabía que la militarización del espacio sería una pesadilla, además de un fraude para la humanidad. Carol Rosin recuerda que el Dr. Braun, cuando citaba especialmente el tercer punto, el de una amenaza de meteoritos, se reía. Y por supuesto el cuarto punto, la amenaza alienígena, era una tomadura de pelo a la gente. Todo ese programa de amenazas ayudaría para que prosperase un nuevo orden mundial y aumentara así el poder de gobiernos y del complejo industrial militar. Las antenas HARP y el proyecto Blue Beam recrearían mediante hologramas una supuesta invasión alienígena a la Tierra, mientras que el sistema militar espacial de Star Wars, que impulsó el gobierno de Ronald Reagan, atacaría directamente a la población mundial, haciéndonos creer que se trata de un ataque alienígena. Todo esto sería para la agenda de conspiración, que siempre es la instauración de un gobierno mundial dirigido por el falso Mesías, Anticristo, que supuestamente sería el liberador de la humanidad, el nuevo orden mundial en estado puro.
In 1974, after being a 6th grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space." And I said, teachers don't stop until June. He said, "No, you have to understand. This is February. And we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone. that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies, he said, against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids. And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat. Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject. And now we hear on the news just today, this week, that they've slid in another enemy. Only this time we're going to protect our satellites. In other words, we have to have some reason to spend these trillions, to waste these dollars on a space-based weapon system, and they're all lies. This is a system, he told me, that would never protect anyone. Even back then, he talked about suitcase bombs. He talked about chemical, viral, bacterial, biological warfare, that these space-based weapons would never protect us against. And then he told me that, in fact, if you travel around the world, which I did after he died in 1977, I met with people in over 100 countries who were friends. They didn't want to build space-based weapons. I became a space and missile defense consultant. And I worked with people around the world. I became an advisor to the People's Republic of China. They don't want to build a space-based weapon system. And he told me back then that they didn't. He said, go to Russia. They're considered to be the enemy. I got on a plane by myself. When I got to Russia, I had a list of people that I had read out of the newspaper. Chernenko was in office then. He was the only one I didn't get a chance to meet. They introduced me to everyone when I got there. And when I got back, I said, oh my Lord, this man is telling the truth. There is no threat, and I've been waiting until this day for 27 years, and I'm expecting the spin to happen, because he also explained to me that as a military strategist, as a person who worked on the MX missile, which I did later, he said, you will find that there is going to be a spin to find some enemy against whom we have to build space-based weapons. And now we should expect the spin, because he said part of the formula for the intelligence community is if they might have a weapon, then we have to consider that they do have these weapons. So now they do have these weapons, so now we have to build these weapon systems. And that's the formula, except that it's all based on a lie. And we have witnesses here who have told you that they can shut down our missile silos. They can stop a rocket going into space that's a test. We have witnesses here who have worked in the classified departments, who have the courage to come forward here to support what Wernher von Braun told me back in 1974 to 77. And I will testify before the Congress that when I founded the Institute for Security and Cooperation in Outer Space, which I shut down a few years ago because I didn't believe we had a chance with this huge, integrated around the world, complex weapon system, that we had any chance at all of transforming that war industry into a space industry that could provide benefits, like Dr. Greer has said, of global warming. We can end that situation of that problem. We can end the energy crisis. We can build now non-polluting technologies. Wernher von Braun used to tell me that we could have cars back then that drove around off the ground. He described this to me on beams so that we have no pollution on this planet. And we can solve the problems of the people that are urgent and potential, and the other animals and the other cultures on Earth and in space. And we can end the arms race without dislocating the industry jobs, without disrupting the economy, by transforming, Wernher von Braun told me, the war industry into a global cooperative space industry that will provide, he said, finally, more jobs and profits on this planet than during any hot or cold wartime, more products and services that can be applied directly to solving the problems of this planet. And we can have a whole planet now that lives in peace on Earth, with all the cultures on Earth and with all the extraterrestrial cultures in space. And these are words that Wernher von Braun told me in 1974, and I will testify before the Congress under oath about everything I have said and more. Thank you.